Marissa, I've got your special assignment program that you turned in. Let's take a look at it together. All right, here's the template you turned in with the instructions. No pseudocode was required this week. So let's copy your program. I've got that right here. And then let me look at your questions while I'm here. To add two integers together, display the sum. That's exactly what the directions said. It can calculate sums in various applications. Input was treated as string, so you fixed it by using the int. So you didn't have the int at first to tell it's integers. Add error handling for non-integers to have it go back and say, oh, you didn't enter one. That'd be a good addition in there. All right, let's paste this into an idle window and see how it works. All right, the first thing I notice, making sure I copied it correctly. I copied the top. You didn't have a heading with your name, date, and a short description of the program. You didn't put your programmer's name on it. So you missed that right there. Line 2, using comments, put that on there. Let's see. Define main. You've got num1, num2, integer, inputs, sum of the numbers. All right, let's see what happens. First integer, 25. The second integer, 33. And it puts the sum of num1 and num2 is sum of numbers. And it even puts a quote in front of it. But that's not the output we're looking for. It didn't tell me what my integers added up to. So looking at this, the first thing I can see is you went and tried to find something on the internet, maybe ChatGPT or some other thing to write this, because this is not how we write a print statement. That's not what our lessons taught us. And you can go back to all these lessons, and almost every sample program has a sample of a print statement. And the lesson for this one, 2.02, definitely shows you how to do a print statement by printing the total or whatever you're calculating. Now, it was doing multiplication, but you're doing adding. The print statement works the exact same way. So you need to pay attention to the lessons. Our version of Python works a little differently. I'm not even sure what line 9 is. If underscore name underscore, that looks like a variable, which is, you haven't used that variable anywhere in your program. If it equals and then quote underscore main underscore, then do something. That's an if statement. And your main back here should actually not be indented because it closes this. If this is part of your main function, it should be indented, but it could be, yeah, you might have got a bad input because of this. So you fixed it by getting rid of those spaces there. Did that work? No. And then indenting this instead. Somehow that works. Somehow that ignores it. But this is like something from a totally different program. So if you copied this from some other program somewhere and tried to fix it to do what you needed it to do, you got some problems. And of course, your first problem is this is not proper. This does not work. I don't even know why you have an F in there, other than like ChatGPT uses a version of Python that puts an F in their print statements because it didn't print things properly here for us. So we could say the sum of quote plus string num1 plus quote plus string plus quote. See, I don't want to quote num1 and num2. I want it to print what num1 and num2 is. Don't quote it. You quoted it. You put it in quotes, so that's exactly what it printed. I don't want it to print that. I want it to print what the value is. String close quotes. All right, so print the sum of, and then print actually what the number is. And then, since this is in quotes, print the word and then print actually what this number is. And then print literally space, is space, and then print whatever the sum of numbers is. And then this is just garbage. Okay, let's run it now. Oh, it's not running because my main has to be back there. Run program now. What's the first integer? 41. What's the second integer? 23. The sum of 41 and 23 is 64. There we go. So you had a few errors in there. Looks like you, instead of referring to the lesson and learning things, you're going to try to find answers on the internet, because some of the things you had on there is not what we've taught. That doesn't always work in our version of Python, because we have a different version of Python. I mean, everything updates. There's Python 2.0, Python 3.0, like all these other things out there. And a lot of the websites have a newer version of our Python. That's why ours says use Python idle to write your program. That's always in the instructions, because you need to program it the way that we're taught in our lessons, because our lessons use program idle. So make sure you're going through the lesson, looking at the samples that has in there, learning how to write the functions based on the samples in the lesson, and being able to do things correctly there. So you managed to get it to not show errors, except for the error of, that's a logic error. On the print statement, it printed the sum of num1 and num2 is sum of numbers. That's a logic error. It's not an error for Python, but it doesn't produce what you were expecting it to produce. It didn't work right. So a few things to work out. I'll give you this feedback to help you be a better programmer, because this week's program is a lot tougher, and some of these are pretty complicated going forward. So I just want you to build those skills. All right, we'll see you in class.